I stood in my parents' living room, staring at the empty table where my engagement party should have been. They'd canceled it without telling me, rescheduled for yesterday while I was stuck at work covering the shift they'd convinced me to take. Mom shrugged, sipping wine like nothing happened. "Oh, honey, we thought you knew," she said, her voice dripping with fake concern. Dad didn't even look up from his phone. My sister Emma smirked from the couch, twirling her hair. "Guess you're not as important as you think." My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone and canceled the $5,000 catering deposit I'd put down for next month's family reunion they'd been begging me to host. The confirmation pinged loud in the silence. Their faces shifted. "What did you just do?"
Mom's wine glass froze midair. I didn't answer. Instead, I reached into my bag and pulled out a manila envelope, thick with papers, and set it on the coffee table between us. The weight of it seemed to suck the air from the room. Emma sat up straight. Dad finally looked at me. "What's that?" he demanded. I just smiled, cold and tight. Something I should have opened years ago. My Aunt Linda had given it to me 3 weeks earlier, right before she died. She'd gripped my hand in that hospital bed, her eyes urgent and wet. "Don't open this until they push you too far," she'd whispered. "Then make them pay." I hadn't understood then. I understood now. "You're being dramatic," Emma said, but her voice cracked. She glanced at Mom, who'd gone pale. Dad stood up, his jaw clenched.
"Whatever that is, it stays in this family." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "That's rich coming from you." My fiancé Jake had proposed 6 months ago, and I'd poured everything into planning our life together, into making my family proud. They'd smiled, hugged me, told me how happy they were. But yesterday's party, the one I'd missed, wasn't just a rescheduled engagement celebration. I'd seen the photos on Emma's Instagram before she deleted them. It was a toast, all right, but not to me. Jake was there, with Emma, his arm around her waist, her lips on his cheek. The caption? Finally. I'd called him immediately. He didn't deny it. "Your sister understands me better," he'd said. Like that explained stealing my fiancé? When I'd confronted Emma an hour ago, right before I came here, she'd shrugged. "He chose me. Get over it." My parents had known. The party had been their blessing. And I was supposed to swallow it, stay quiet, keep the peace like I always did. Not this time. The envelope sat there, a bomb waiting to detonate. Mom reached for it, but I snatched it back. Not yet. Dad's face turned red. "You don't get to come in here and make demands." I met his eyes, steady. "Watch me." The room felt smaller suddenly, the walls pressing in. I'd grown up here, in this house, with these people who were supposed to love me. Every scraped knee, every report card, every heartbreak had happened under this roof. And every time, I'd been the good daughter, the reliable one, the one who sacrificed. Emma got the college fund when she dropped out after 1 semester to find herself. I'd worked 3 jobs to pay my tuition. Mom got the down payment for her car when hers broke down. I'd taken the bus for 2 years. Dad got the loan when his business nearly failed. I'd emptied my savings. And this was how they repaid me, by stealing my future and laughing about it. "You owe me an apology," I said quietly. Mom set down her wine glass with a sharp click. "For what? You're overreacting." That word. Overreacting. They'd used it my whole life to dismiss me, to make me small. "Say that again," I challenged. Emma rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, you're so exhausting. Jake and I fell in love. It happens. Stop being selfish." Selfish. The word hung in the air like poison. I'd given them everything, and I was selfish. My chest tightened, rage flooding through me hot and thick. I slammed the envelope down on the table, hard enough to make the lamp rattle. "Open it," I said. Dad crossed his arms. "No." "Then I will." I tore it open, my fingers clumsy with anger, and pulled out the first document. It was a bank statement, dated 15 years ago. My name was on it. An account I'd never opened. I scanned the numbers, my heart pounding. $50,000. Deposited by my grandmother before she died, meant for my college education. Withdrawn 3 months later, by my father. I looked up at him, my vision blurring.
You told me she left me nothing. His face didn't change. She wanted it to go to the family. She wanted it to go to me. My voice cracked, too loud in the small room. Mom shifted uncomfortably. Emma looked confused. I threw the statement at Dad's chest. It fluttered to the floor. You stole from me. We borrowed it, he said coldly. For the business. We were going to pay you back. It's been 15 years. I was shaking now, adrenaline coursing through me. I pulled out more papers. Another bank statement. Another account. This one had my mother's signature, forging mine to take out a loan in my name when I was 19. $20,000 I'd never seen that had tanked my credit for years. I'd thought I'd been denied cards and loans because I was young and broke. It was because they destroyed my credit. You ruined me, I whispered. Mom's lips pressed into a thin line. We did what we had to do. You weren't using that credit anyway. The casual cruelty of it took my breath away. Emma stood up, her face twisted with annoyance. So what? Ancient history. Move on. I turned to her, and something in my expression made her step back. You think this doesn't involve you? I pulled out a photo from the envelope, printed and grainy. It showed Emma at a casino, a stack of chips in front of her, her face flushed and giddy. The timestamp read 6 months ago. Next to her was Jake, his hand on her thigh. 6 months ago, before he proposed to me. The betrayals had started long before I'd known. I threw the photo on the table. Aunt Linda hired a private investigator when she got sick. She didn't trust any of you. She was right. Mom's face went from pale to gray. Linda had no right. She had every right, I shouted, my control snapping. You all used me. For money, for stability, for your own conveniences. And when I finally had something good, you took that too. Dad moved toward me, his hand outstretched like he was going to grab my arm. I stepped back. Don't touch me. He stopped, his eyes hard. You're acting like a child. A child? I was 32 years old, and they still saw me as someone they could control. I pulled out the last document in the envelope, my hands steadier now. It was a will, Aunt Linda's will. She'd left me everything. Her house, her savings, her investments. $300,000 protected in a trust they couldn't touch. And a note in her shaky handwriting. You deserved better. Now, take it. Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them back. I wouldn't cry in front of them, not anymore. Linda knew what you were, I said, my voice low and steady. She watched you bleed me dry and decided to give me a way out. So here it is. Emma lunged forward, grabbing for the will, but I held it out of reach. That money should go to the family, she shrieked. The irony was almost funny. I am not your ATM, I said. I am not your safety net. I am not your punching bag. I'm done being the person you take from. Mom started to cry, loud and dramatic. How can you be so cruel after everything we've done for you? Everything they'd done. The gaslighting was breathtaking. Name one thing, I challenged. Silence. Dad's jaw worked, but no words came out. Emma looked away. Mom's tears dried up fast when she realized they wouldn't work. I folded the will and put it back in the envelope, along with the statements and photos. I'm keeping all of this, and if any of you come near me, if you try to contact me or take anything else from me, I'm going to the police. Fraud, identity theft, forgery. Take your pick. Dad's face went purple. You wouldn't dare. I smiled, and it felt like ice. Try me. I turned and walked toward the door, my legs shaky but holding. Behind me, Emma's voice rose, shrill and desperate. You can't just leave. We're your family. I stopped, my hand on the doorknob, and looked back at them one last time. They looked smaller somehow, diminished. No, I said. You're people who share my blood. Family doesn't do what you did. Mom reached out, her expression crumpling into something that might have been regret. Please, we can fix this. But it was too late. Years too late. I opened the door, and the cool evening air hit my face like a blessing.
Goodbye, I said, and stepped out into the driveway. Their voices followed me, shouting, pleading, threatening, but I didn't turn around. I got into my car, started the engine, and drove away. My phone buzzed incessantly with calls and texts, but I silenced it. In the rearview mirror, I watched the house shrink and disappear. The trust fund would let me start over. A new apartment, maybe in a different city. No forwarding address, no ties. Aunt Linda had given me more than money. She'd given me permission to choose myself. My hands were still shaking as I pulled into a coffee shop parking lot and sat there, the engine ticking as it cooled. I felt hollow and full at the same time, grief and relief tangled together. I'd lost my family tonight, but maybe I'd never really had them. The people who loved you didn't steal from you. They didn't sabotage your happiness or mock your pain. I pulled out my phone and blocked all their numbers, one by one. Each tap felt like shedding weight. Then I opened my messages and texted my best friend Sarah. I did it. I'm free. Her response came immediately. Proud of you. Come over? I put the car in drive and headed to her place, the city lights blurring past. For the first time in years, maybe ever, I felt like I could breathe. The road ahead was uncertain, but it was mine. No more sacrificing for people who didn't value me. No more swallowing my worth to keep the peace. I was done being small. As I pulled up to Sarah's building, I caught my reflection in the window. I looked tired, my eyes red-rimmed, my hair a mess. But underneath it, I saw something new, strength. I grabbed the envelope from the passenger seat and got out of the car. Tomorrow, I'd call a lawyer, start the paperwork to protect the trust, maybe press charges. Tonight, I'd let myself fall apart with someone who actually cared. And after that, I'd build a life they couldn't touch. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Would you have confronted them or walked away without a word?